The last dropship exploded in a brilliant flash of orange and white as it attempted to breach the atmosphere. That made 17 failed evacuation attempts since the human arrived. Magnificent, isn't it? Supreme Commander Jax Torvala growled, his 4 eyes fixed on the floating debris through the observation deck's panoramic window. How one single human female can destroy our planetary defense system, our communication arrays, and now our escape vessels. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. We were trapped on Valcora Prime with a vengeful human, and no one was coming to save us. Speak, Lieutenant Krell. I value your tactical assessment, Lafal barked, his scaled skin flushing purple with frustration. The human appears to be toying with us, sir, I replied, choosing my words carefully. She could have breached Central Command days ago. Instead, she's systematically isolating us from the Galactic Council. Toying? Toying? Torval's tail slammed against the metallic floor. Do you find this amusing, Lieutenant? Our civilization faces extinction because the Council decided humans were too dangerous to leave unchecked. No, I didn't find it amusing. I found it terrifying. But I couldn't deny the tactical brilliance. The human hadn't killed a single Valkorian yet. She'd only destroyed machinery, weapons, and infrastructure. Almost like she was making a point. Sir, we should consider negotiation. The human's actions suggest— Negotiation? Torval spat a glob of acidic saliva that sizzled on the floor. With a species that destroyed the Zentari battle fleet in 17 minutes. The same species that walked away from a planetary bombardment on their homeworld and then hunted down every ship responsible? Have you forgotten your history lessons, Lieutenant? I hadn't. Every species in the galactic community knew the stories. Humans were classified as Death World sentients, evolved on a planet that should have killed them 1,000 times over. Their bodies could regenerate from horrific injuries. Their endurance was legendary, and their capacity for violence when provoked was unmatched. The emergency lights suddenly flashed red. The automated system blared, "Perimeter breach." Sector 7. Perimeter breach. Torval's communicator buzzed. Supreme Commander. The human? She's requesting communication. On screen, Torval ordered, his voice suddenly calm. Too calm. The main display flickered to life, and there she was. The human female stood just outside our final defense line, her combat armor scorched and dented but still functional. No helmet. That was the most disturbing part. Humans never seemed to protect their heads adequately, as if daring the universe to try killing them. This is Lieutenant Commander Morgan Frey of Earth Combined Forces, the human announced, her flat face showing those unsettling teeth humans called a smile. I believe you have something that belongs to us. Torval's posture stiffened. We have nothing of yours, human. Your unprovoked attack on our sovereign world is an act of war. The human's smile widened. I felt a chill run through all 6 of my appendages. Unprovoked? That's an interesting perspective, she said, her voice unnervingly pleasant. Let me clarify. 17 Earth days ago, you abducted 3 human scientists from Research Station Epsilon. Before that, you transmitted false distress signals that lured 2 of our medical ships into Valkorian space, where they were captured. And before that, you provided the Zentari with shield frequencies for our colony on Proxima Centauri B. Preposterous accusations, Torval thundered, but I noticed his secondary breathing sacs inflating rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in our species. Would you like me to continue listing your provocations, Commander? The human tilted her head. Or shall we skip to the part where you return our people and I leave your planet in one piece? We will never surrender to a human. Torval snarled. The human's expression changed then, her smile disappearing. That wasn't a request for surrender. That was an offer of mercy. The screen went black. Alarms blared throughout the command center. Security feeds showed explosion after explosion along our outer perimeter. Not random destruction. Precise, tactical strikes against weapon emplacements and shield generators. All units converge on Central Command, Torval ordered. Activate the Guardian Protocol. My blood ran cold. Sir, the Guardian Protocol hasn't been tested. The energy requirements alone could— Would you prefer to die at human hands, Lieutenant? Torval hissed, inputting his authorization code into the command console. Perhaps I would. At least it would be quick. The Guardian Protocol was our species' last resort, a planetary defense system that would transform our atmosphere into a corrosive shield, theoretically impenetrable to any known technology. It would also trap us inside for at least a decade. System charging. Estimated time to activation, 14 minutes, the computer announced. Torvald's expression relaxed slightly. See, Lieutenant? Our ancestors' wisdom will save us. The human can't breach our inner sanctum in 14 minutes. The doors to the command center exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris walked Lieutenant Commander Morgan Frey, holding one of our own plasma cannons as if it weighed nothing. Behind her I could see the bodies of our elite guard unit. Not dead, I realized with shock, but unconscious. Actually, the human said, casually tossing the plasma cannon aside, 14 minutes is about 13 more than I need. Torvald lunged for his sidearm. The human moved faster than should be physically possible, crossing the room in a blur. One moment Torvald was reaching for his weapon. The next he was pinned against the wall, the human's forearm against his throat. Here's what's going to happen, she said, her voice still conversational despite the violence of her actions. You are going to deactivate that doomsday device you just initiated. Then you are going to take me to my people. If they are unharmed, I leave peacefully. If not, she shrugged. Well, I brought a very interesting device from Earth. It's called a terraforming charge. Turns planets like yours into something more hospitable for humans. You wouldn't dare, Torvald choked out. The Galactic Council would. The Galactic Council, the human interrupted, has already received my mission parameters. They are giving me wide latitude considering your violations of the Treaty of Proxima. I stepped forward, my hands raised in the universal gesture of non-aggression. Lieutenant Commander Frey, I am Lieutenant Krill. I can take you to your people. The human's eyes flickered to me, then back to Torvald. After a moment's consideration, she released the Supreme Commander, who collapsed to the floor, gasping. Smart move, Lieutenant, she said. Lead the way. As we walked through the corridors of Central Command, passing the stunned or groaning forms of our security forces, I couldn't help but ask, why didn't you kill them? Any of them? The human glanced at me, her expression unreadable. Is that what you expected? That I'd slaughter everyone in my path? That is what we were told humans do when provoked, I admitted. She laughed, a sound somehow both musical and menacing. You were told we are monsters, the bogeymen of the galaxy. It makes it easier to justify what your leaders do to us. We reached the secure detention level, where I input my clearance codes. The doors slid open to reveal 3 human males and 4 human females, all wearing the distinctive blue uniforms of Earth's scientific corps. Commander Frey, one of the humans exclaimed, rushing forward. How did you find us? The Valkorians said they'd scrambled our locator signals. They did, Frey responded, embracing the scientist briefly. But they forgot that Dr. Lahari has a titanium hip replacement. Pretty distinctive on thermal scans. She turned to me. Are the medical ships here too? I nodded. Docking Bay 14. The crews are unharmed, though they have been questioned extensively. Commander Frey's expression darkened. Questioned how? Before I could answer, Supreme Commander Torvald's voice echoed through the facility's communication system. Attention all personnel. Initiate Directive Omega. Repeat, Directive Omega. The human scientists exchanged worried glances. Commander Frey's hand went to her weapon. What's Directive Omega? She demanded. I felt sick. It's a self-destruct protocol. The entire facility will explode in 10 minutes. Of course it will, Frey muttered. Because nothing can ever be simple. She activated a communication device on her wrist. Raven, this is Frey. Change of plans. I need emergency evac for 11 scientists. Approximately 20 medical personnel and... She glanced at me. 1 Valkorian defector, south landing pad in 8 minutes. My heart's nearly stopped. Defector? I know. You have about 30 seconds to decide, Lieutenant, Frey said bluntly. Stay here and die with your Supreme Commander's suicide pact, or come with us and explain to the Galactic Council exactly what's been happening on Valkora Prime. The facility shuddered as the first explosive charges detonated in the lower levels. "The medical ships," I said quickly. "They are still functional. If we can reach, Raven can provide cover fire." Frey nodded. "Lead the way, Lieutenant." The journey to Docking Bay 14 was chaos incarnate. Emergency systems blared warnings as the self-destruct sequence progressed. Panicked Vicorians ran in all directions, some trying to reach escape pods, others following Torval's mad directive to ensure no one survived. We encountered a blockade at the entrance to the docking level, a dozen elite guards with plasma rifles. "Stay behind me," Frey ordered, then did something unexpected. Instead of attacking, she called out, "Your commander has activated self-destruct. This facility will explode in minutes. We have transport off-planet. Help us reach the medical ships and you can evacuate too." The guards hesitated, looking at each other uncertainly. "She's lying," shouted their captain. "The humans will kill us all once we are in space." "If I wanted you dead," Frey responded calmly, "you would be already. Look around you. Have I killed a single Valkorian since I arrived?" That moment of uncertainty was all she needed. Faster than my eyes could track, Frey launched something from her wrist device, small metallic spheres that erupted in blinding light and disorienting sound. When my vision cleared, all 12 guards were unconscious on the floor. "Non-lethal concussion grenades," Frey explained, helping me up. "Now move." We reached the docking bay with 4 minutes remaining on the self-destruct countdown. The human medical personnel were indeed there, confined but unharmed. As Frey released them, I accessed the ship's systems, preparing for immediate launch. The atmospheric shield. I suddenly remembered. It's still active. We can't break through. Commander Frey tapped her communication device again. "Raven, we need that shield down now." A calm voice responded. "Targeting shield generators. Brace for atmospheric disturbance in 3, 2, 1. The entire facility shook violently as something massive struck the planetary shield generators. Warning lights flashed across the medical ship's control panel indicating the shield was fluctuating. "Everyone aboard. Now," Frey shouted. As the last human scrambled onto the ship, Frey turned to me. "Last chance. Lieutenant, are you coming?" I looked back at the facility that had been my home for 12 cycles. Supreme Commander Torva's voice still echoed through the communication system, ranting about purity and sacrifice and the glory of the Valkorian Empire. "Yes," I said simply, and stepped aboard. The medical ship lifted off with less than a minute to spare, its engines screaming in protest as Frey pushed them beyond safety parameters. Through the viewport, I watched Central Command recede and then erupt in a blinding flash of energy and debris. We broke atmosphere just as the shield collapsed entirely, revealing a human battleship in low orbit. The vessel was massive, easily 4 times the size of our largest cruiser, bristling with weapons that made my scales tighten in fear. "Don't worry," Frey said, noticing my reaction. "The Raven is under strict orders not to fire unless fired upon." "Is that supposed to be reassuring?" I asked. "Actually, yes." She smiled, that unsettling human smile again. "Contrary to what you have been taught, Lieutenant. Humans don't want war. We don't want conquest. We just want to be left alone to explore the stars and build our colonies." "Then why are you so good at fighting?" The question escaped before I could stop it. Commander Frey's expression grew serious. "Because for most of our history, we had to fight everything just to survive. The weather, predators, disease, and each other. When we finally achieved peace among ourselves and looked to the stars, we hoped to find friends." Her gaze hardened. "Instead, we found species like yours, who saw our strength as a threat rather than an asset." The medical ship docked with the human battleship. As the airlock cycled open, Commander Frey turned to me one last time. "You made the right choice, Lieutenant Krill. Now you get to tell the galaxy the truth about what happened here." "And what truth is that?" I asked. Her answer sent cold dread through my hearts. "That we warned you. That we gave you every chance to return our people peacefully. That even when attacked, we chose minimal force." She stepped through the airlock, and most importantly, that the next species who tries what yours did might not face someone as merciful as me. As I followed her onto the human vessel, surrounded by a species my people had demonized for generations. I couldn't help but wonder, had we created the very monster we feared, or had we simply never understood humans at all? The battleship's engines rumbled to life, leaving the ruins of Valcora Prime behind us. Ahead lay the Galactic Council, where I would testify to everything I'd witnessed, where I would tell them that the most terrifying thing about humans wasn't their strength or their technology or even their capacity for violence. It was their restraint and what might happen when they finally lost it. The Galactic Council chamber stretched before me like the maw of some ancient predator. Tiered seating rose in concentric rings, filled with representatives from 217 species, all watching with varying degrees of curiosity, hostility, or indifference. As I approached the testimony platform, I had never imagined I would stand here, certainly not as the sole surviving representative of Valcora Prime's leadership. Not as a defector, the Council Arbiter, a massive Trilaxian with translucent skin that revealed the complex neural network beneath, activated the truth field around my platform. The familiar tingle of psychic energy washed over me, ensuring that every word I spoke would be verifiably honest. "State your designation for the record," the Arbiter rumbled, his 7 eyes blinking in sequence. "Lieutenant Draz Krill, formerly of the Valcorian Defense Force, Central Command Division. And you are here to testify regarding the incident at Valcora Prime which resulted in the destruction of your government's central facility and the deaths of Supreme Commander Jax Torval and his senior staff." "Yes, Arbiter," a murmur ran through the assembled representatives. I caught sight of Commander Frey sitting in the human section, her expression unreadable. Beside her sat a tall human male with dark skin and silver at his temples, wearing the insignia of an Earth Fleet admiral. "Proceed with your account," the Arbiter instructed. "Begin with the arrival of the human operative." I swallowed hard, my throat sacs constricting with anxiety. The human did not arrive without warning. 3 standard cycles before Commander Frey's appearance, we received a formal communication from Earth Combined Forces demanding the return of their abducted personnel. "Objection!" The Zentari representative's voice cut through the chamber like a plasma blade. The Valcorian Empire made no such abductions. "This is human propaganda." The Arbiter's skin flashed yellow with irritation. "Representative Zoll, you will have your opportunity to present counter-evidence. Continue, Lieutenant Krill." I nodded, grateful for the intervention. Supreme Commander Torval dismissed the communication as an empty threat. "Our intelligence suggested that Earth had not yet discovered which species was responsible for the abductions. But they had," observed a Mersonian representative, her feathered crest rising with interest. "Yes, we underestimated human intelligence capabilities," I admitted. "Commander Frey arrived alone in a stealth craft that evaded our entire defense grid. By the time we detected her presence, she had already disabled our planetary shield generators and our long-range communication array." "One human?" the Zentari representative scoffed. "Against a planet of Valcorian?" I fixed my 4 eyes on him, feeling a flash of anger. "1 human was sufficient." "Representative, your own battle fleet learned this lesson at Proxima Centauri. Did they not?" That silenced him. Every species in the chamber knew of the Zentari humiliation, how they had deployed 36 dreadnoughts against a human colony, only to retreat with just 7 ships remaining after a 90-minute engagement. The human female proceeded to methodically isolate Valcora Prime from all potential reinforcements. I continued. "She destroyed our orbital defenses, our planetary sensor grid, and eventually our evacuation vessels, all without causing a single Valcorian casualty. This restraint seems inconsistent with human historical behavior," noted the Faxian observer, her crystalline form shimmering with skepticism. The human admiral rose from his seat. "With the Arbiter's permission, I would like to address this point." "Granted, Admiral Okonkwo," the Arbiter rumbled. Admiral Okonkwo's voice filled the chamber without effort, deep and resonant. "The Council seems to labor under certain misconceptions about humanity. Yes, when pushed to our limits we fight with a ferocity that has shocked many species, but we prefer peace. Commander Frey's mission parameters were explicitly non-lethal, to recover our people with minimal casualties on either side. A curious approach for a species that obliterated the Praxian moon base." countered a reptilian delegate I didn't recognize, after the Praxians used it to launch biological weapons against our colony on Europa. Admiral Okonkwo replied smoothly. The historical record is clear. In every conflict involving humans, we have been attacked first. We finish conflicts. We do not start them. The Admiral's words hung in the air, neither challenged nor accepted. He nodded to me and sat down. Please continue your testimony, Lieutenant Krill, the Arbiter prompted. I described Commander Frey's methodical dismantling of our defenses, her request for communication, and finally her direct assault on Central Command. As I recounted her effortless neutralization of our elite guard units, without killing a single one, I noticed many representatives shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Commander Frey confronted Supreme Commander Torval, demanding the return of the human prisoners, I said. When he refused, she subdued him and ordered me to take her to the detention level. Why did she select you? The Arbiter asked. I had advocated for negotiation earlier. I believe she sensed my reluctance to engage in further conflict. Or sensed your weakness, the Zentari representative muttered, loud enough for all to hear. Commander Frey suddenly stood, her movement drawing every eye in the chamber. With respect, Arbiter, I would like to respond to that characterization. The Arbiter considered for a moment, then nodded. Proceed, Commander. Frey's voice was calm but carried an undercurrent of steel. Lieutenant Krill demonstrated the only true strength in that room, the courage to question orders that would lead to needless death. While Supreme Commander Torval was activating a planetary self-destruct sequence that would have killed everyone under his command, Lieutenant Krill was trying to save lives, both Valkorian and human. Her gaze swept the chamber. If the Council considers that weakness, then perhaps we have identified the root of our ongoing conflicts. A heavy silence followed her words. Even the Zentari representative seemed momentarily chastened. Continue, Lieutenant, the Arbiter finally said. I described our desperate race to the medical ships, Commander Frey's offer to evacuate any Valkorians willing to leave, and finally the destruction of Central Command. Supreme Commander Torval activated the self-destruct protocol rather than release the human prisoners or face consequences for his actions. I concluded. He chose to die and to sacrifice thousands of Valkorians, rather than admit his violations of Galactic Council treaties. The chamber erupted in overlapping conversations. The Arbiter allowed the commotion to continue for several moments before raising all 7 of his appendages for silence. We will now hear from Commander Morgan Frey of Earth Combined Forces, he announced. As Frey took her place on the testimony platform and I returned to my seat, a Hydraxian delegate intercepted me in the corridor. Impressive performance, Lieutenant, he hissed, his amphibious features contorting into what his species considered a smile. Tell me, how much did the humans pay for your betrayal? Before I could respond, another voice cut in. The lieutenant wasn't paid anything, Delegate Marks. Admiral Okonkwo towered over the Hydraxian, his expression pleasant but his eyes hard. He was simply offered something your kind rarely extends to others. The truth. The Hydraxian retreated, muttering something about human sympathizers. You should be careful, Lieutenant Krill, the Admiral said once we were alone. Not everyone in the Council appreciates honesty. I'm beginning to realize that, I replied. But I don't understand. If the Council was established to maintain peace among species, why does it perpetuate these misconceptions about humans? Admiral Okonkwo's expression grew thoughtful. Fear is a powerful motivator, Lieutenant. Humanity's rapid advancement from a pre-spaceflight civilization to a major power in less than 2 centuries frightens many established species. He gestured toward the chamber where Commander Frey was now speaking. It's easier to cast us as dangerous savages than to acknowledge that we might represent a better way forward. Before I could respond, alarms blared throughout the Council station. Red emergency lights bathed the corridors as a computerized voice announced, "Security breach in docking sector 12. All representatives, please remain in the Council chamber. Security teams to docking sector 12. The Admiral's communication device buzzed. His expression darkened as he listened to the message. We need to get back to the chamber, he said tersely. Now, when we returned, chaos had erupted. Representatives were shouting over each other as the Arbiter struggled to maintain order. Commander Frey stood rigid on the testimony platform, her face pale. What's happening? I asked a nearby Valkorian, one of the few who had chosen to evacuate with us. Zentari forces have boarded the station, he replied, his scales paling with fear. They are demanding the humans surrender Commander Frey for crimes against the Zentari Collective. Admiral Okonkwo pushed through the crowd toward Commander Frey. As he reached her, the main doors to the chamber burst open. A contingent of Zentari warriors marched in, their chitinous armor gleaming under the chamber lights, weapons raised. This council session is suspended, announced their leader, a Zentari general whose carapace bore the gold markings of the Imperial Guard. By authority of the Zentari Dominion, we are here to arrest the human Morgan Frey for the destruction of 29 Zentari vessels and the deaths of 17,632 Zentari warriors. Admiral Okonkwo stepped forward, placing himself between Frey and the Zentari forces. General Verax, this is a flagrant violation of Council neutrality protocols. Your vessels attacked a human colony in direct contravention the Treaty of Proxima. Commander Frey was defending human territory against illegal aggression. A matter to be decided by tribunal. General Vex clicked, his mandibles flexing with aggression. Surrender the human female or we will take her by force. The arbiter's skin flashed crimson with rage. This is unprecedented. Zentari forces have no jurisdiction within the council station. We have jurisdiction wherever Zentari lives have been taken. General Vax responded. The human will face justice. I watched in horror as Zentari warriors spread throughout the chamber, their weapons trained on the human delegation. Council security forces were nowhere to be seen, likely neutralized during the initial breach. Commander Frey stepped forward, gently moving Admiral Okonkwo aside. General Vex, I understand your desire for justice. I'm prepared to present evidence that the Zentari fleet fired first in violation of Council treaties. Your evidence is irrelevant, Vervax clicked dismissively. Humans cannot be trusted to document their own crimes. Then perhaps you would trust neutral testimony, I heard myself say. All eyes turned to me as I stepped forward. The truth field still hummed around the testimony platform, its psychic energies visible as a faint blue shimmer. I was stationed at a Valkorian observation post during the Proxima Centauri incident. I continued, my heart's racing. We monitored the entire engagement. Our records clearly show the Zentari fleet firing the first shots, targeting civilian habitats. General Vrax's compound eyes fixed on me with murderous intent. The traitor speaks more human lies. Not lies, General, I countered, moving fully into the truth field where my words would be verified as honest. Supreme Commander Torval ordered us to transmit shield frequencies to your fleet, allowing you to penetrate Proxima's defenses. We were complicit in your attack, an attack on civilian targets. The chamber fell silent as the truth field glowed brighter, confirming my testimony. This changes nothing, General Vorix hissed after a moment. The human comes with us. No, she doesn't, Admiral Okonkwo said quietly. Then more loudly, Apollo Station, this is Admiral Okonkwo. Authorization code Theta 79 Echo. Execute protocol Lighthouse. For several seconds nothing happened. General Vax made a chittering sound that might have been laughter. Your Earth fleet is light years away, Admiral. No one is coming. The entire station shuddered violently. Emergency systems wailed as external sensors detected multiple spatial distortions forming around the Council station. On the central display, ripples appeared in the fabric of space-time. From these ripples emerged 7 massive vessels. Human dreadnoughts, each bristling with weapons systems more advanced than anything I had ever seen. Impossible, General Varg sputtered. No species has developed functional jump technology. Correction, Admiral Okonkwo replied calmly. No species has shared their jump technology with the Council. There's a difference. The largest dreadnought moved into position directly above the Zentari boarding craft. A communication channel opened, and a stern human female appeared on the Council chamber's main screen. This is Captain Elena Duval of the EFS Normandy. Zentari forces, you are in violation of Council neutrality protocols and have committed an act of war against Earth by attempting to abduct an Earth Combined Forces officer. You will stand down immediately and withdraw from the Council station, or we will open fire. General Varvax's mandibles clacked with fury. You would not dare fire upon us within council space. The political repercussions would be severe, Captain Duvall agreed. But not as severe as allowing a precedent where Earth officers can be abducted with impunity. You have 30 seconds to withdraw. This is madness, the Zentari general raged, turning to the Arbiter. Will you allow these humans to threaten a founding member of the Council? The Arbiter's skin had shifted to a deep purple, a color I couldn't interpret. You boarded this station with military forces, General Varax. You threatened a protected witness. The humans are responding to your aggression, not initiating it. General Varax stared at the Arbiter in disbelief. Then, with a gesture to his forces, he stomped toward the exit. This isn't over. The Zentari Dominion will not forget this insult. Neither will Earth, Admiral Okonkwo called after him. Remember that the next time you consider violating our borders. As the Zentari forces withdrew, the tension in the chamber slowly dissipated. The human dreadnoughts maintained their positions, a silent reminder of Earth's previously undisclosed capabilities. Commander Frey approached me, her expression a mixture of gratitude and concern. That was a brave thing you did, Lieutenant. The Zentari have long memories and longer reach. I only spoke the truth, I replied, something that seems increasingly rare in council proceedings. She smiled, that strange human expression that still made me uncomfortable. Truth is always the first casualty in politics. That's why we tend to back it up with big guns. The Arbiter called the session back to order, though many representatives were still visibly shaken by the revelation of human jump technology. In light of Lieutenant Krill's testimony, corroborated by the truth field, this council finds that the actions taken by Earth combined forces at Valcora Prime were justified under Article 7 of the Mutual Defense Treaty, the Arbiter announced. Furthermore, the evidence suggests multiple violations of council law by the former Valcorian government, including illegal abduction of council citizens and conspiracy to commit acts of war. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt only emptiness. My homeworld's government had been exposed as criminals, and I had helped reveal that truth. What would happen to the remaining Valcorians now? What would happen to me? As if reading my thoughts, Admiral Okonkwo approached. Lieutenant Krill, Earth would like to extend an offer of asylum to you and the other Valcorian evacuees. Additionally, we would welcome your expertise as we establish diplomatic relations with the new Valcorian government forming in the outer colonies. New government? I asked, surprised. Yes, it seems your testimony has inspired something of a revolution back home. The colony administrators are distancing themselves from Torval's regime and requesting council recognition as the legitimate Valcorian authority. Hope flickered within me for the first time since Valcora Prime. Perhaps something good could emerge from this disaster after all. As the council session concluded, I found myself walking alongside Commander Frey toward the human diplomatic vessel. Tell me something, Commander, I said as we passed through the security checkpoint. Your mission to Valcora Prime, was it always intended to expose the larger conspiracy, or was rescuing your people the only objective? Frey was silent for several steps. When she finally answered, her voice was thoughtful. Both, I suppose. We knew Valcora Prime was just one piece of a larger puzzle. The Zentari, the Hydraxians, even some elements within the Council itself, they have been trying to contain Earth's influence for decades. Torval's actions gave us an opportunity to bring it all into the open. By demonstrating your military superiority? I asked. By demonstrating our restraint, she corrected. I could have killed everyone in that command center. Instead, I offered evacuation to anyone willing to leave. That sends a message far more powerful than any weapon. What message? Her expression hardened. That humans aren't the monsters you have been told we are, that we prefer allies to enemies. But also that we will not tolerate attacks on our people. As we boarded the shuttle that would take us to the Normandy, I contemplated her words. The galaxy was changing. The carefully maintained narrative about humans that they were dangerous savages to be contained and controlled was unraveling. What would replace it? And more importantly, what would happen when other species realized they had been lied to about humanity for generations? The shuttle lifted off, leaving the council station behind ahead of us. The human dreadnoughts waited, their jump drives ready to carry us back to Earth. a planet I had been taught to fear all my life and which was now offering me sanctuary. "Commander Frey," I said as the shuttle approached the Normandy's docking bay. "What happens next?" She looked out at the stars, her expression unreadable. "That depends on what the Zentari and their allies do. If they are smart, they'll accept that the balance of power has shifted and adjust accordingly. And if they are not smart—" Her smile returned, but there was no warmth in it this time. "Then they'll learn why every species that has ever underestimated humanity has lived to regret it." Briefly, the shuttle docked with a gentle shudder. As the airlock cycled open, Commander Frey turned to me one last time. "Welcome to the human side of history, Lieutenant Krill. It's a much more interesting perspective." I followed her into the Normandy, leaving behind everything I had once believed about the galaxy and my place in it. Ahead lay Earth, the death world, the cradle of the most feared and misunderstood species in the galaxy, and perhaps, if Commander Frey was right, the beginning of a new chapter in galactic politics, one where truth mattered more than convenient lies, and where even the gods who had promised to protect us would have to acknowledge that they had been wrong about humanity all along. As the Normandy's jump drive engaged, tearing a hole in space-time, I wondered if the galaxy was ready for what would come through that breach. Somehow I doubted it. Earth loomed in the viewport, a swirling marble of blue and white that seemed both welcoming and terrifying. I had seen images, of course. Every educated Valkorian had studied the human homeworld, but nothing prepared me for the reality of it. So much water, so much life, so much variation. "First time seeing Earth?" asked a voice behind me. I turned to find Admiral Okonkwo standing there, his dark eyes studying my reaction. "Yes," I admitted. "It's not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Something more uniform," I said. "Our education modules described Earth as a death world. Toxic atmospheric mixtures, extreme temperature variations, catastrophic geological instability. I expected something more visibly hostile." The Admiral laughed. A deep rumbling sound. "Oh, it's hostile all right. You are just seeing it on a good day. Give it time. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, blizzards. Earth will show you why humans evolved to be so adaptable. Or as Commander Frey likes to say, why we are so damned hard to kill." A chime sounded, indicating our descent path was approved. The shuttle banked, revealing a sprawling coastal city below. "San Francisco," Admiral Okonkwo explained. "Earth Combined Forces Headquarters. The diplomatic team is eager to speak with you. About the Zentari, I guessed. Among other things." The Admiral's expression grew serious. "Lieutenant Krill, the incident at the Council Station has accelerated certain geopolitical shifts that were already underway. Your testimony provided irrefutable evidence of what we have long suspected, that multiple species have been conspiring to contain humanity's expansion through any means necessary." I felt my scales tighten with anxiety. "And now we need to understand the full scope of this conspiracy. Who's involved, what they are planning, and how to prevent a full-scale galactic war." The word hung in the air between us. War. Not a border skirmish or a colonial dispute, but true interspecies conflict on a scale the galaxy hadn't seen in 8,000 cycles. "I'll tell you everything I know," I promised. "I'm counting on it," the Admiral replied, his gaze returning to the approaching city. "Because based on the Zentari communication traffic we have intercepted since leaving the Council Station, we may have less time than we thought." The shuttle touched down on a landing pad atop a gleaming tower overlooking the bay. As the hatch opened, I was struck by my first breath of Earth air, rich, moist, almost overwhelmingly full of organic compounds. My respiratory membranes fluttered in surprise. "You'll adjust," Commander Frey said, noticing my discomfort as she joined us. "The Korean physiology is compatible with Earth's atmosphere, though you might find it a bit too oxygen-rich at first." A delegation waited for us. Humans in various uniforms and formal attire, standing with the relaxed confidence that seemed characteristic of their species. At their center stood a human female with short silver hair and penetrating green eyes that seemed to evaluate and categorize me in an instant. "Lieutenant Krill," she greeted me, extending a hand in the human gesture of welcome. "I'm Director Adira Harlow, Earth Combined Forces Intelligence. Welcome to Earth. I awkwardly returned the gesture, careful not to press too hard with my scaled fingers. Thank you, Director. I understand you have information vital to Earth's security interests, she continued, her tone pleasant but direct. We have prepared a full briefing facility. If you are not too fatigued from your journey, we'd like to begin immediately. I glanced at Commander Frey, who gave me a slight nod of encouragement. I'm ready, I said. The briefing facility was unlike anything I had experienced on Valcora Prime. Open, airy, with actual growing plants in decorative containers and large windows overlooking the bay. No truth field, I noticed. Either the humans didn't possess such technology, or they chose not to use it. 5 other humans waited inside, military and intelligence officers, judging by their insignia. They rose as we entered, introducing themselves with names I struggled to pronounce correctly. Before we begin, Director Harlow said once we were seated, I want to clarify something. You are not a prisoner here, Lieutenant Krill. You are a political refugee and a valuable intelligence asset. Your cooperation is entirely voluntary. I understand, I replied, somewhat confused by this approach. On Valcora Prime, valuable intelligence assets weren't given choices. Good? She activated a holographic display at the center of the table. Now let's start with what you know about Operation Eclipse. My blood ran cold. How do you know that name? Director Harlow's expression remained neutral. We have our sources. What we don't have is the complete picture. That's where you come in. I took a deep breath, organizing my thoughts. Operation Eclipse was initiated approximately 5 Earth years ago following the human victory at Proxima Centauri. It's a multi-species initiative coordinated by a secret council subcommittee. Which species? Admiral Okonkwo asked. The Centauri lead it, with significant involvement from the Hydraxians, the Coral Hierarchy, and my own species. I admitted. There are others, but their identities were compartmentalized. Even Supreme Commander Torval wasn't privy to the full coalition membership. And the objective? Director Harlow prompted. Containment. Initially, I explained. The coalition wanted to restrict human expansion by denying access to strategic resources and systems. When that failed, I hesitated, uncomfortable with what I needed to say next. Go on, Commander Frey encouraged. The objective shifted to provocation. I continued. The coalition needed justification for more direct action against Earth. They began orchestrating incidents. The abduction of your scientists, the attack on your medical vessels, the shield frequency transmission to the Centauri, all designed to provoke a disproportionate human response that would justify a coalition intervention. Disproportionate? Frey repeated, her expression hardening. They wanted us to slaughter Valkorians so they could paint us as bloodthirsty savages. Essentially, yes, I confirmed. Supreme Commander Torval was prepared, even eager, to sacrifice thousands of Valkorian lives to advance the coalition's agenda. Admiral Okonkwo leaned forward, his expression grave. And when Commander Frey didn't oblige by massacring your people, it complicated things. I said, the coalition needed evidence of human aggression. Instead, they got evidence of restraint. That's why Torve activated the self-destruct protocol. He was trying to salvage the operation by forcing Commander Frey to either abandon your people or appear responsible for a massive loss of Valkorian life. The humans exchanged troubled glances. This changes our assessment significantly, Director Harlow said finally. We believed we were dealing with isolated incidents. If there's a coordinated multi-species conspiracy to provoke war with Earth, there's more, I interrupted, knowing I needed to share everything. Operation Eclipse has 3 phases. Provocation was only phase 1. The room grew very still. Phase 2? Admiral Okonkwo prompted. Isolation, I replied. Diplomatic and economic measures to cut Earth off from its allies and trading partners. The coalition has been systematically pressuring neutral species to choose sides. We have noticed certain trade relationships becoming strained, one of the intelligence officers commented. The Mersonian Consortium cancelled 3 major technology exchanges last month alone. And Phase 3? Director Harlow asked, though her expression suggested she already knew the answer. Elimination, I said quietly. A coordinated, overwhelming strike against Earth and all major human colonies. The Coalition believes that humanity must be reduced to a manageable level of technology and population before you become too powerful to contain. The silence that followed was deafening. I had just confirmed that multiple galactic powers were actively planning genocide against the human species. Commander Frey was the first to break the silence. Timeline? I don't know precisely, I admitted. But the Zentari incident at the Council Station suggests Phase 2 is already underway. Phase 3 would likely follow within 1 to 2 Earth years, once the Coalition has secured sufficient allies and resources. Director Harlow's fingers tapped a rapid pattern on the table, a human gesture of intense thought I'd learned. Lieutenant Krill, she said finally. You understand that by sharing this information you have made yourself a target for every species involved in this coalition. I do, I replied. But after witnessing what Supreme Commander Torval was willing to do to his own people, to yours, I couldn't remain silent. Whatever humanity's flaws, you don't deserve extermination for the crime of being stronger than others expected. Admiral Okonkwo nodded slowly. We appreciate your courage, Lieutenant. Now we need to decide how to respond to this threat. Conventional diplomacy won't work, Commander Frey stated flatly. Not if they are already committed to war. Agreed, said Director Harlow, but neither can we strike preemptively against multiple species without becoming exactly what they accuse us of being. The discussion continued, with the humans debating various strategies, military preparations, covert operations, diplomatic initiatives aimed at neutral species. I marveled at their process. On Valcora Prime, strategy discussions were rigid affairs where junior officers spoke only when directly addressed. Here, even the lowest-ranking human felt free to offer perspectives, challenge superiors, suggest alternatives. What about a demonstration? Suggested a young human officer whose name I'd already forgotten. Not an attack, but a show of force they can't ignore. The jump drive technology got their attention, Admiral Okonkwo acknowledged. But it won't be enough to deter a determined coalition. What about Perseus? Commander Frey asked suddenly. The room fell silent again, but this silence felt different, charged with something I couldn't identify. Director Harlow's eyes narrowed. Perseus isn't operational. It's close enough, Commander Frey countered, and it's exactly the kind of demonstration that might make the coalition reconsider their timeline. What is Perseus? I asked, unable to contain my curiosity. The humans exchanged glances, apparently making some collective decision. Lieutenant Krill, Director Harlow said carefully, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level. If you were to share this information with anyone outside this room, I understand, I assured her. My life on Valkyrie Prime is over. I have nowhere to go but forward. She nodded, then touched a control on the table. The holographic display shifted to show an enormous orbital structure, a ring surrounding what appeared to be an artificial singularity, Project Perseus, she explained. A quantum gravitational manipulation system capable of creating controlled spatial distortions on a massive scale. I stared at the image, struggling to comprehend what I was seeing. This is more than jump drive technology. Much more, Admiral Okonkwo confirmed. Perseus can create a gravitational lens effect that allows us to project force across vast distances instantaneously. In theory, we could target any location in the galaxy without sending ships or personnel. The implications were staggering. Such technology would render traditional defenses obsolete. No wonder the Coalition was moving toward conflict. If they knew or suspected humans possessed this capability, waiting would only make humanity stronger. You could destroy any target anywhere in the galaxy, I said slowly, feeling a new fear growing within me. Or protect any target, Commander Frey added. Perseus is designed primarily as a defensive system. We can create gravitational shields around our colonies that would make them effectively impervious to conventional attacks. The Coalition doesn't know about Perseus? I asked. They suspect we are developing advanced gravitational technology, Director Harlow replied. But they don't know the specifics or how close we are to deployment. Admiral Okonkwo leaned forward. Lieutenant, do you believe a demonstration of Perseus would deter the Coalition or accelerate their timeline? I considered the question carefully. The Zentari and Hydraxians respond to strength. A demonstration would likely give them pause, but it might also confirm their worst fears about humanity's potential, making us too dangerous to allow further advancement, Commander Frey concluded. Exactly, I agreed. Though I believe a targeted demonstration, one that proves your capabilities without threatening the Coalition directly, might achieve the desired effect. Director Harlow's expression was thoughtful. What would you suggest? The Kelvec asteroid belt, I said after a moment's consideration. It's uninhabited but strategically valuable due to its mineral content. Several Coalition species have mining claims there. If you could, rearrange it somehow, create a new moon, something dramatic but non-lethal. A slow smile spread across Admiral Okonkwo's face. Moving a few billion tons of rock through gravitational manipulation. That would send a message. A clear one, Commander Frey. Agreed. We can do this without harming anyone, while demonstrating capabilities that would make any rational species reconsider aggression. Director Harlow nodded decisively. I'll take the recommendation to the Security Council immediately. In the meantime, Lieutenant Krill, we'd like you to work with our intelligence team to identify vulnerable Coalition assets and potential allies among neutral species. As the meeting concluded, Commander Frey accompanied me to the quarters that had been prepared for me. Surprisingly comfortable accommodations with environmental controls adjusted to Valkorian preferences. You have given us a fighting chance, she said as we walked. Without your information, we might not have understood the threat until it was too late. I should have spoken sooner, I replied, guilt weighing heavily on me. When I first learned of Operation Eclipse, you were a loyal Valkorian officer following orders, she interrupted. What matters is what you are doing now. We stopped at the entrance to my quarters. Through the window I could see the sun setting over the bay, casting golden light across the water. It's beautiful, I said, gesturing toward the view. Your death world. Commander Frey smiled. Beauty and danger often go hand in hand on Earth. It's part of what shaped us. She turned to leave, then paused. Get some rest, Lieutenant. Tomorrow will be a busy day. Commander, I called after her. You think it will work? The demonstration? Her expression grew serious. I hope so. Because the alternative is a war unlike anything this galaxy has ever seen. 3 days later, I stood in Earth Combined Forces Command Center alongside Commander Frey, Admiral Okonkwo, and Director Harlow. On the main display, Project Perseus had come online, the massive ring structure pulsing with energy as the artificial singularity at its center stabilized. Target coordinates locked, announced a technician. Kelvec asteroid belt, section Gamma 9 through Delta 3. Energy levels at 97%, reported another. Gravitational lens forming. Admiral Okonkwo turned to me. We are broadcasting this on all frequencies. Every species in the Coalition will witness what happens next. I nodded, my throat dry with anticipation and fear. What if something went wrong? What if the demonstration proved too effective, too terrifying? Initiate Perseus, Director Harlow ordered. The command center fell silent as the energy reading spiked. On auxiliary displays, long-range sensors showed the gravitational distortion reaching across light-years of space to touch the Kelvec asteroid belt. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly, the countless rocks and ice fragments of the belt began to move, not chaotically but with purpose. They swirled together, drawn by artificial gravitational fields into a coherent pattern. By the ancestral gods, I whispered as the pattern became clear. The asteroids were forming the shape of a human hand, palm open in what I recognized as a gesture of peace. The construct was massive, visible from half a sector away, unmistakable in its message and its demonstration of precision control. Gravitational stabilization fields engaged, a technician reported. The structure will maintain integrity for approximately 300 years before natural forces begin to disperse it. Admiral Okonkwo smiled grimly. A persistent reminder. We are receiving transmissions from 17 different species, another officer announced, including the Zentari High Command. Director Harlow nodded. Put them through. The image of General Vrax appeared on the main screen, his compound eyes unreadable but his mandibles clicking with agitation. This demonstration is a clear act of aggression, he began without preamble. The Zentari Dominion considers this demonstration, Admiral Okonkwo interrupted, is a gesture of restraint, General. We could have targeted Zentari military installations. We could have collapsed your homeworld's crust. Instead, we rearranged some uninhabited rocks into a symbol of peace. General Viggs's mandibles stilled. What do you want, human? An end to Operation Eclipse. Director Harlow stated flatly. An end to the provocations, the conspiracy, the plans for war. Earth knows what you and your coalition have been planning, General. We know about phases 1, 2, and 3. The Zentari general's carapace paled visibly. Impossible. That information was compartmentalized. He stopped abruptly, realizing he had just confirmed the operation's existence. His compound eyes swiveled, focusing on the Valkorian traitor. He hissed. You will pay for this betrayal, Lieutenant Krill. I betrayed no one, I replied, finding courage I didn't know I possessed. Supreme Commander Torval betrayed the Valkorian people by sacrificing them for your coalition's agenda. I merely told the truth. Admiral Okonkwo stepped forward. Here's what happens next, General. Earth is transmitting evidence of Operation Eclipse to every member of the Galactic Council. Simultaneously, we are deploying Perseus-enabled defensive systems to human colonies and allied worlds. You are forcing our hand, General Viggs warned. The coalition will have no choice but to what? Commander Frey interjected. Accelerate your timeline? Launch your attacks now, before you are ready? Against a species that can reshape asteroid belts from across the galaxy. Director Harlow's voice was steel. Or you can stand down, General. Dissolve the coalition. Return to diplomatic channels. Earth has never wanted war with any species. We still don't. But make no mistake, if you force this conflict, we will end it. Decisively. The Zentari general was silent for a long moment, his alien features impossible for me to read. Finally he spoke. The Zentari Dominion will re-evaluate its strategic position. We will communicate our decision through proper diplomatic channels. The transmission ended abruptly. Did it work? I asked the room at large. Director Harlow's expression was guarded. Perhaps. The Zentari aren't easily intimidated, but they are pragmatic. The demonstration may have convinced them that conflict with Earth is unwinnable. What about the other coalition members? Admiral Okonkwo wondered. The Hydraxians, the Quarrel, already reaching out through back channels, a communications officer reported. They are distancing themselves from the Zentari position, claiming they were misled about Operation Eclipse's true purpose. Commander Frey snorted. Convenient, but predictable, Director Harlow noted. No one wants to be on the losing side of a conflict. If the coalition fractures, Phase 3 becomes impossible, I concluded. At least in the near term. The command center buzzed with activity as reports continued to flow in from across the galaxy. Species were reacting to the demonstration, to the revelations about Operation Eclipse, to the suddenly shifted balance of power, the carefully constructed narrative about humanity, dangerous savages who needed to be contained, was collapsing in real time. As the immediate crisis subsided, Commander Frey led me to a quieter area of the command center. What happens now? I asked. To me, I mean, that depends on what you want, she replied. Earth has offered you permanent asylum. Your knowledge of Valkorian military systems would make you valuable to our defense forces if that interests you. I considered the option. A new life among humans, helping them prepare for a conflict that might still come, despite today's demonstration. What's the alternative? I asked. The new Valkorian government has requested your assistance, she said, surprising me. They are restructuring their military and diplomatic corps, purging Torval loyalists. They need officers with integrity and a fresh perspective. They want me back? I couldn't hide my shock. After I testified against our former leadership? Because you testified, Commander Frey corrected. You put truth above blind loyalty. That's exactly the kind of leadership they need now. I stared out the window at the Earth's sunset, considering my options. Return to a homeworld in chaos. Help rebuild a government tainted by conspiracy and deceit. Or remain here among a species I was only beginning to understand. "What would you do?" I asked finally. Commander Frey smiled. "I'd go where I could do the most good. Where my voice would make the most difference." She was right, of course. Earth had Perseus, had its advanced technology and formidable military. What it needed from me, my knowledge, my testimony, I had already provided. Valkora Prime, however, was at a crossroads. Its people needed to understand the truth about humanity, about the Coalition's manipulations, about the future of our species in a galaxy where humans could no longer be dismissed or contained. "I'll return," I decided. "But I have conditions." 3 months later, I stood in the newly established Valkorian embassy on Earth, finalizing the details of the first-ever mutual defense treaty between our species. As ambassador plenipotentiary, I had been granted unprecedented authority to reshape Valkorian foreign policy. The door chimed, announcing a visitor. Commander Frey, now Captain Frey following her promotion, entered with her characteristic confident stride. "Ambassador Krill," she greeted me with a smile. "The treaty language looks good. My superiors have approved all the modifications you requested." "Excellent," I replied, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. "And the technology exchange provisions?" "Approved as well, though with the security restrictions we discussed. Perseus-derived technology will remain exclusively human for now, but we are willing to share defensive applications once the treaty is ratified." I nodded, understanding their caution. Trust between our species was still fragile, still evolving, but it was growing. "Any word from the Coalition?" I asked, using the term still commonly employed to describe the now fractured alliance against humanity. "The Zentari have withdrawn to their core systems," Captain Frey reported. "They have suspended all military operations beyond their borders, a face-saving retreat, essentially. The Hydraxians have proposed their own diplomatic initiative with Earth, likely hoping to secure favorable terms before any potential conflict. And the others? Falling in line one by one." She smiled thinly. Amazing how a demonstration of superior technology can clarify diplomatic positions. I returned to the treaty document, scanning the final provisions. "Do you think it will last? This peace?" Captain Frey considered the question. "That depends on whether the galaxy learns the right lesson from all this." "Which is?" "That humanity isn't the monster under the bed," she said simply. "We are not bloodthirsty conquerors looking to dominate other species. We are explorers, builders, defenders. We'll extend a hand in friendship to any species willing to do the same. And the hand can rearrange asteroid belts if necessary," I observed dryly. She laughed. "Exactly. Peace through strength, Ambassador. It's an old human concept, but effective." As she prepared to leave, Captain Frey paused at the door. "By the way, the Raven is shipping out next week. First diplomatic mission to the Mersonian homeworld. We could use a Valkorian perspective on the delegation if you are interested." I felt a surge of excitement at the prospect. "I'd be honored, Captain." "Good," she nodded approvingly. "Maybe together we can show the galaxy that the old stories were wrong, that humans aren't the danger everyone feared, that your gods, the powerful species who promised to protect you from us, were never the protectors they claimed to be." As the door closed behind her, I returned to the window overlooking San Francisco Bay. The sun was setting again, bathing the human city in golden light. Somewhere out there, across the vast reaches of space, the Kelvik asteroid belt still hung in its new configuration. A giant hand extended in peace, created by a species with the power to destroy worlds. A reminder that humanity had knocked on our doors not with conquest in mind, but with a simple message. We are here. We are strong. We prefer peace, but we will not be contained. The gods who had promised to protect us from humans had been wrong all along. Humanity wasn't the threat we should have feared. Fear itself was. And as I finalized the treaty that would bind our species together, I couldn't help but wonder how different the galaxy might have been if we had extended our hand first, instead of waiting for humanity to knock down our doors.